Because I don't want no one. I want to talk about this main shit because I don't want no one to get mad and interrupt and blah 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 and rush us or whatever. So you know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
there. Yes, okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of Music Maniacs coming at you at full fucking throttle right now. At the time being, it's me, YR, and we figure we get in a couple of discussions regarding the new Iron Maiden tour as well as their new drummer and everything else Maiden related.
Yeah, I'm
Before,
busy. I'm busy later, so we're starting early a little bit. But if Dave wants to join, blah blah blah. But I, because I'm not in, I don't know the prog rock shit. I don't want to interrupt y'all on that. But we missed last week with the Maiden stuff.
Mhm.
Brown,
Yes,
you let me send you a video because I'm gonna need you to play this video on air. I called Eddie Trunk
Mhm.
Show the other day,
Yes,
but
I
this
listened to that as well.
if you can play on the air, I'm gonna send it to you
Okay,
on
there.
the Discord. But so the send in the live show chat if it's you can get it. Um, so obviously Brown, big Maiden guy for years, blah blah blah, and then you know what I'm saying like I saw him with Dream Theater like in 2011, 2010 um, era, maybe 2009,
Mhm.
2000, maybe it was like 2010, but it was I saw Maiden live, and
Mhm.
I don't want to say I had not much memories of it, but like back then, I wasn't too deep on the catalog, blah blah blah. I've been big Priest head now.
Mhm.
Saw Maiden last year
Yes.
again, but man, do they're just like Priest, and I'm sure a bunch of other bands, but maybe not a bunch, but like the the songs, their set list switch every tour, Priest and Maiden.
Mhm.
They have obviously you have your standards and your radio hits, if you want to you call them that, or wider, like Iron Maiden, maybe their biggest casual fan song would be something like "Run to the Hills," Trooper, but
Or
maybe
the
more "Run to the
Trooper,
Hill."
yes.
You really hear "Run to the Hills" being commercials and stuff more than anything. But between those, I mean, obviously, Number of the Beast. That's kind of that was on a video game, on Tony Hawk's video game. That was my first introduction to Maiden. But that's a casual fan song. But like I would say those are standards. But your Aces High, your
2 minutes to midnight.
2 minutes to midnight, exactly. Your wasted years. I was on there. Hallowed be thy name, perhaps. You
The
know,
number of the beast.
number of the beat. Your those are your standards. But on this tour, they play all of that. See, last tour they play. When they get these new albums, like Final Frontier tour, they played a lot of the new album stuff, and just like
Mhm.
last tour, they play a lot of the feature. What's the name of the album that just came out, Brown? I'm having a brain fart. From
The one with
Maiden.
the samurai. I cannot pronounce it, but it was either way it came out, I
Senjutsu,
believe.
Senjutsu,
Yeah,
Senjutsu, right?
yes. Hmm. Thank you.
Okay, so like you had a lot of that, plus your fair share of the Maiden operates differently. They play what they play, and they don't change the set list the whole tour. They
Yes.
really don't.
Hmm.
But I mean, we're talking. There's so many songs, Maiden and Priest, but we're focusing on Maiden because they just came out with this new tour where they're going early, going first, second album heavy.
Hmm.
All the albums until like Fear the Dark, which is really just a one song, which they play all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Um, but Brad, can you pick up that set list of this last tour so we can run down every song? Because
Where is it located
you know,
at in Cindy in the
you can go. You just set list FM Iron Maiden, and you should be
okay.
able to pull. Or you really, it's on the could be on the website. But see, this was like a week and a half ago, a week ago. Started this tour in Hungary. Okay,
Hungary, that's how it's
and
called.
yes, this is huge. So like well, first of all, they came out with this phone ban, or not necessarily a phone ban,
It's a phone
but
restriction. It's where you like
yes, like
yeah,
telling the audience, hey, chill with the phones. Let's not too crazy. Blah 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 blah. And then also like I tell Eddie Trunk, I don't think Eddie Trunk was like understanding. I mean, kind of what I was getting at, like, but you go back to that article on IronMaiden.com, and it's, hey guys, on this next show in Prague or
Prague.
whatever, and this next show in Prague, let's limit the phone use, like, to the GA floor and in front of the sound mixing booth, which usually in the middle of the floor, which is like usually where the best sound is, where they're mixing the sound and everything.
Hmm.
Um, the mixing station, you know what I mean?
Yes, the
He says that
soundboard.
in that article, and in that video I put up, because I called Eddie Trunk, I told him about it. But the funny thing is, after that phone ban and everything, Brown, during the show, it was like 2 o'clock in America when it was like 9 o'clock in Prague or in Hungary. So I
Hungary.
looked. I mean, there was a couple, um, you know, what I'm saying, like YouTube channels talking about this live in like Spanish. You know, they have a huge Spanish based kind of fan base,
Right.
and you know what I'm saying. So like,
Yes.
there was a couple YouTube channels, but like they had, there's a few fan videos out already, but like there was someone live streaming from their phone in the middle of the crowd in
Hmm.
GA
Yep.
during that. So I listened to most of that concert live,
There you are.
and Iron Maiden was revealing every song as they played it live on X and their
Hmm.
other social medias,
Hmm.
because it's so crazy. Like they have, for people to understand, like how, and I really don't think any other band does this, but for each song that they have, Iron Maiden, there's a piece of like artwork that has to go to, because in the lyrics of the song, whether it's a song about battle, whether it's Edgar Allan Poe,
Hmm.
Murders in the Rue Morgue song, whether
Yes.
it's, there's something to, which obviously leads into the later discussions of the metal Prog, but I mean their T-shirts for one song. There's obviously Eddie is the main mascot, is the main deal, but like
Yep.
if the song is called Man or something, that's really simple. But if the song is called Army Man War or something, then Eddie on the T-shirt or the art piece or the record or the whatever, the piece of art, will be like, in an army uniform. It's like, it's so cool. See, it speaks for itself. Like, Ryman and Action Mariner, like this huge ship, and it's in the ocean, and then like Eddie's part of the clouds. That's kind of like the artwork. The Power Slave song, Brown, and all that whole
Yep.
album, the
Yep.
Egyptian Eddie thing. So
Yes. Like the
it's not
album
just
cover.
like, it's all about. I mean, like, it's not just about the music. It's that there's so much to it, the art and just the aura and the merch,
Yep.
and Eddie the God, and it's just so much. But tour. I mean, look, they were play. They. There's just so much here. It's so crazy. Like,
Well,
I call it. Go ahead.
well, to go back to the imagery, Maiden has always been like that when it comes to albums and their 12-inch singles, whether it's especially in the UK. I mean, if they put out a single, for
Hey,
example,
Paul.
like for example, Phantom of the Opera, which he did, they'll have Eddie in the icebergs somewhere playing a big opera like organ, or like with Running Free, they'll have some kid, long-haired kid with sneakers on, running away from an Eddie-like creature, only to be apprehended by a bunch of Eddie's hands.
So Paul or Brown or either one, get the set list for, because Brown
I
saw
have
the
it right
Legacy
here.
of the Beast tour. Well, get that one and the Legacy of the Beast set list, because that was kind of a greatest hits tour. kind of like this one in a way, but they go early. I mean, we're talking first couple
Well,
albums.
well,
We're
let's
talking songs that Bruce Dickinson didn't even sing on the studio albums he's doing live. But what no one said, there's so much to it. Like they don't forget, we have to mention that this new tour has an animated backdrop. Usually before there were like these big flags, and so like the artwork we were mentioning, for the next song they would put out, Fear of the Dark, and it's the artwork with him with Eddie mixed in with the tree.
Mhm.
And they use these banners they pull physically, but now it's a screen. So during certain songs like the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, where it's about
Yep.
ships in the ocean, you're seeing waves and ships, and it's like that 3D screen in a way. You're not wearing 3D glasses, but it's like that really good AI to where it's like coming at you through. I mean,
Yes.
this is a big deal. But the big thing here, this is huge. So this set list on this tour is from
This year.
his
Well,
Live After Death album,
yeah.
their album
The
that came
night
out in the 80s. A lot of that
1985.
set list, hello, a lot of that set list is on that live album, which no one really said anything about lately. But if you take a look, a lot of the songs are on there. Brown,
I got the list.
you get the list of the tour you went to as well.
Well, let me read off the set list
You got the
from
list. Yeah, go ahead.
the current tour. First of all, you remember how before Priest started this set, they would play War Pigs by Black Sabbath.
Yes.
I made its case they're doing the UFO classic Doctor Doctor, which Maiden covered at one point when they had Blaze Bainley as their front man. Also, now they start off with the IDs on March, which is the instrumental opening for the Killers album. Then they kick into Murders in the Rue Morgue from the same album. Then they go
Great
into
goddamn song.
Wrathchild. Then they go into Wrathchild, both songs with the original frontman Paul Di'Anno, rest in peace to him. Then they go into another Paul Di'Anno song, Phantom of the Opera from their first record, 1980. The Clairvoyant from Seventh Son of a Seventh Son back in
Great. So
1988.
look, Seven Sud.
Mhm.
Great song, great album, but that Clairvoyant song, which is on Seventh Son album, my God, Paul 3. It's a
Yeah.
time to live and a time to die. Come on,
Yes.
bro.
By the
There's a
way, it's a
million
concept
Iron
album.
Maiden songs, and all of them are fucking good, bro. I haven't heard a bad one yet, to be honest.
Exactly. Now, after the Clairvoyant, they do the song Power Slave, which is a title cut from the 84 album.
Yeah,
Two
so like,
minutes.
boom, on that song,
Hmm.
like there, like a lot of the obviously a lot of fans didn't adhere to their request and filmed. Okay, but so like during that, so the screen in the back is so big, the length of the stage almost, but like during that song, it's this huge pyramid, and then like Maiden stage, they have like what is it called? Like I guess risers in the back, so like
Yep.
Bruce can go in the back behind the drums, and it's risen up. So like he goes in the back risers, but it looks like he's at the bottom of the pyramid, bro. Like at the entrance. Like, dude, this shit is so. I'm probably gonna go to like Houston. I'm probably gonna hit this twice. Like, fucking drive 5 hours away to go see it again. But I'm gonna do the no phone thing. I'm gonna do it crafty. I'm gonna like take pictures like when I can, but I'm gonna record the audio at
Mhm.
least. Get my fix in, because that,
Yes.
you know what I mean? That, concert, just in general, like, depends on who you see, blah blah blah. But when there's low points, when there's songs you don't know, like fuck around on your phone, zooming in, kind of makes it go by. You can kind of dull points in a concert, whatever. So like to get my recording fix, I would still record, but whatever that means. But I would definitely respect them. But they do really mean in GA on the floor, because it's an open floor GA, and in front, if you're in front of the sound area in the middle, they like Rob. What's their manager's name?
Ron Smallwood.
Smallword states that. That's what I was trying to tell Eddie Trunk, bro. Like, I don't think he was understanding. Like he didn't read what I read, or he didn't read, because there was a long post they put on their website. Like this was after the Hungary shows. They were like, "Hey guys, blah blah blah." All the fans showed up. Thank you, blah blah blah. But there was a few fans that didn't adhere, and I hope your arm is sore. He was being a dick, but
Mm.
being like funny about it. You know what I mean?
Sarcasm.
Like, yeah, he's being like sarcastic and
Yeah.
or whatever. But still, like, you cannot do the pouches, the phone secure pouches with like that whole GA crowd. Imagine at the end of the show, because I know
Mhm.
they have like it's a magnet thing. They have these magnet stations, so when you leave, you
Mhm.
just click the phone and it's easy to get your phone out. But like, imagine leaving the concert and having to go unlock your phone, waiting at the magnet stations
Mhm.
is a total fiasco. And it really, because that band Ghost does that. Not a lot
Mhm.
of groups do. A lot of groups just say, like Tool, they don't make you seal up your phone in the pouch or nothing. They just say no, don't do it. And if any security sees you, we're gonna kick you out.
Mhm.
Because, bro, it is a fiat. Like, it is a pain in the ass. People just want to, when it's the end of any event, you want to leave as fast as you can, and you want to go to the parking lot and get in your car and leave.
Mhm.
And all of that is congestion and takes time and everything. And for all events, sporting, concerts, um, a quick tip: if you're in a parking lot waiting after an event, all the cars leave at once and it's congested. If you wait 10, 15 minutes, I mean, by that time, you're good to go to exit the parking lot. But guys, this whole, and I know Paul 3's not a huge Iron Maiden like fan or whatever, but I get like people like Jesse J, these huge fanatics. Like, I kind of get where, I mean, it is, they're still doing it. Like, if you listen to that Live After Death album from the 80s,
Yep.
you listen to some of these live videos that are, in Hungary or Prague from a week ago, it's fucking identical. I
Right.
mean, instrumental wise, tuned down, it's all original key. They play in all original key, guys, Iron Maiden.
Yep.
I mean, this is the only part that's weird that I don't, it is 100% live, but like when there's like effects, sound effects, that maybe is like from a keyboard that, you don't want to, for one song, if there's weird, that's part, whatever, you don't need to like have a live keyboard for just one song, like I don't mind that, but like for the most, I mean, it is 100% live what they do, 1,000%. Really, I mean, Paul 3, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're a bit, finish the rest of the set list because Paul 3's favorite song is on there,
Okay. Now of course after Ryman the Ancient Mariner, also from Power Slave, we go to Run
which
to
is
the
like a
Hills.
14-minute song, guys. It's like
Yep,
how
it
long?
is.
It's like a 14-minute song.
It
It's
is.
super long, but it's super epic. It's a
It
super
is.
epic long. It really, like, guys, it might be one of their greatest songs. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, guys. Look it up.
It
Listen to
is.
it.
It is. Absolutely. Most agree, definitely. And we got Dave Rose on the call. What's up, Dave?
Daddy Dave, what's up, Daddy? Pride Month, Dave.
We're doing some Iron Maiden talk. YR wanted to discuss the phone restrictions that their manager implied on the last episode that we had. And also, we figure we do start a little bit early because, as you know,
Hey, thanks for letting me know.
sorry about that. Well, I was intrigued with YR, him coming along with the whole idea. So my apologies for that.
You guys have been going
Well, no,
for
I
20
wanted to
minutes.
hurry. Dr. Brown. Oh, well, no, because I want to start early because to give y'all plenty of time because I really wanted, no interruptions. We had to talk this Iron Man stuff. It was huge.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but go back to the set list. Finish up that set list, please.
Okay, there. Okay. After Run to the Hills, they go to another long track, about 11 minutes long. The title cut from Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Of course, we go to the Trooper afterwards, Hallowed Be Thy Name, and the song Iron Maiden for the first record. And for the encore, they do Winston Churchill's famous speech before kicking into Aces High. That's how they started the World Slavery Tour when me and my best friend saw him back in 1985. Then they go into Fear of the Dark, the first time as an encore. Wasted Years from Somewhere in Time, which by the way was originally called Golden Years, but they had to change it because David Bowie had a song called Golden Years, as you all recall, from
That's the last song,
1976.
right?
Yep,
That's
that's
the
the
last
very
song.
last song. And the little piece of music they play after, where everybody starts to leave their seats and head back to their cars, merchandise, and such and such. You may know this one. Always Look on the Bright Side of Life by Monty Python. That is taken from the movie Life of Brian from years ago. I'm sure you know that
So,
song.
they play like this last tour and a few other tours. You know, they do play the essentials.
Hmm
Okay, they play, you know, Aces High,
hmm
Beast, the Trooper. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Those are the basics. Those are. But bro, this might be. I mean, this is basically the set list from their Live After Dark album from the '80s. Their live album
Yes.
it really. If you look at that set list, it's pretty identical, honestly.
Pretty
I mean,
much,
seriously,
yes.
no one can argue that. No one can argue that set list. Look, like the long 14-minute Rhyme and Ancient Mariner song, people could be like, "Oh, well, that you could take that out and put 2 or 3 songs in there. You could put, you know, Running Free. You can do Flash of the Blade. You can do um, Prowler, Dr. Brown, for Christ's
Hmm
sakes. Imagine they do
Yes.
like Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? I mean, people would like to hear that rather than a 14-minute. But that song is so epic with and the first time ever that Maiden's using an animated screen as a background instead of
Yeah.
the huge flags, the huge banners that they remove for each song, which
Yes.
has the
The
theme
white,
of the
big white
song and
screen.
Eddie and everything.
Yes.
And
Well,
look, like they have I mean, it's like not just showing like I mean, it's like the type of screen to where it's the animation that looks like, you know, Eddie's coming at you out of the screen and trying to grab you.
hmm
There's the waves with the boat with Raymond Action Manor. There's the pyramid for
Power
fucking
Slave.
Slave, bro. The Power Slave pyramid is so epic and it looks so real on the back screen. It's y'all got to look at these videos on YouTube. Hungary, uh, you know, Budapest. You know what I'm saying? Prague.
Prague. It's pronounced
So
Prague.
so epic. Hey, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are fighting right now. We're talking about Iron Maiden. It's okay. It's a bad day for America. It is a bad day for America. You know what I'm saying? I'm just throwing it out there. We are praying for Trump and Elon, but Iron Maiden might be the next to the Beatles because Gene Simmons came out today and he said the Beatles is the greatest music ever in 2,000 years. It's the greatest thing ever in music and all this. He's putting over the
well,
Beatles big time.
well,
But
well. Let me
next to
say
the
this.
Beatles, and I know I'm a huge Judas Priest mark, and I'll go every time they come to town. But so I will I for Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden might be the greatest goddamn thing ever, bro. Go ahead.
Well, it's fit to say that Iron Maiden has somewhat become the Beatles of heavy metal when you think about it. I mean,
Yes.
like
Yes.
the songs, the images, and I did see a couple of images from the back screen while they were performing "Hallowed Be Thy Name," and it almost looks like Bruce himself was walking up that stairs, trying to run from that dark spirit that was supposed to be chasing them
That's what I'm
up to the top.
saying, dude.
Yes,
Like
that is AI.
they're
No,
it
it's definitely
literally the songs are cut. They're making the songs come to life on stage like never before. And that's
exactly.
why they don't want. That's why they don't want. And they specifically were saying keywords like, you know, they put together this tour like, you know, unlike never before, and they added things that you'll never see before, and
hmm
because they don't want people with the phones in their face, you know. But you know, I do it different when I record. I don't have the phone in my face
hmm
necessarily,
Yeah.
and you know, I try to get seats or seated to where I'm not, you know, being an asshole with the phone. But like, look, I'll adhere to their shit, to their rules, obviously.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna, you know, be an asshole about it. But it is better when you look at it's when you're staring at a screen and you're far away. And it is what it is. But like, I can see when you're right in front of the stage on the floor. You know, you don't want the phone in your face. You don't want to be screwing with other people that want to see. You know, it's a type of deal where you're fist pumping, you're singing, you're jumping up and down. I would never do a GA floor Iron Maiden show. It's too rowdy. Honestly, it's too tight. It really is. Personally, I would never do that. But Dr. Brown, I think you did when
Yes.
you saw the tour 5 years ago, correct? You were on the
Well,
floor? Or
it was I was in the pavilion.
Oh, it had seats on the floor.
Yes, exactly. Remember, this was an
Interesting.
amphitheater. It was an amphitheater just like Pine Knob back in Michigan, just like a
Yeah.
couple other venues, like also Freedom Hill Amphitheater, also located in Michigan.
Look, if anyone hasn't seen Iron Maiden, and I know they haven't, like, they're not your AC/DC, they're not your Aerosmith, they're not your Kiss, they're not your Van Halen. Like, they weren't played on the radio a million times, like, over the years. They really weren't. Like, the songs are super long. Maybe one song, "Run to the Hills," was on the radio, but like everything else, it's not. It's it's prog metal. You know what I mean? Not about that, but they really are the greatest live band ever. It's 1,000% real vocals. It's 1,000% real instruments. It's pretty much the classic lineup. They replaced the drummer
Yeah.
just last
How
year.
how is
You
how
know,
is how is Simon Dawson on the drums in your opinion?
I mean, it all sounds the same to me. To be honest, I can't really tell the difference. I mean, there's
Well,
obviously people, I mean, they do have like a lot of their videos and a lot of their fans are, speaking Spanish. I can't really,
Well,
but,
they're big in South
you know,
America just as well. I mean, like you could, if you ever go to South America and you talk down about Iron Maiden, chances are you'll be bum rushed all the damn hell by all the massive amounts of Iron Maiden fans down there without any question.
there was, I get more than rumors, but there was people saying Bruce Dickinson like that after that first couple nights of the tour this last week. He was saying like if you see people recording with their phone up, break their arm, snap their arm in two.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? I mean, they want you to look at the stage. They don't want you to be. And I'm not being. I mean, that's fine. But I'm saying the violence. I don't want to be punched in the face for having my phone out. You know what I mean? Either.
well, let me put this in perspective. Yeah, it's
But
okay to
they do
record.
real quick. They got to keep it. And Eddie Trunk wasn't really understanding what I was trying to say, but we got to keep in mind in that long post they posted on their website, Ron Smallwood, the manager, said mainly, in the GA floor area and in front of the mixing sound booth and in the middle of the floor. Let's like not have the phone out in that area. On the sides and everything. They didn't say anything. That's all they said about that. So it's for a filmer. I mean, there's people that do put it on YouTube and everything, and you need that. People need that. I was listening live to this concert that was happening live on YouTube. This is the biggest. The set list, just revealing it. The reveal. Iron Maiden was revealing each song as they were playing and ending it live on X, bro. I mean, it's so epic. The people are waiting for each song and everything. It's a big thing. It really is. It's huge. But Dr. Brown, you
Mhm.
were wearing a kilt today. Can we dive into that real quick?
No, I didn't wear a kilt today. I wore my regular shorts, but what I did, ladies and gentlemen, is that I did a YouTube short promoting not only this show, but also the techno set, which I have premiering this coming Saturday night, as well as a new Dark Soundscape set, which I'm going to be live doing this Sunday night. And I purchased the kilt that I saw at a place called Ravens and Rockers. I
From
got
Hot
it.
Topic.
No, it's
No.
not Hot Topic. I fuck Hot Topic. It's all emo. It's all animated and
I
stuff.
went
It's
to
all
the
stuff
mall
I.
and I got the Hot Topic and I get the. Nah, listen, it kind of look honestly, it pissed me the fuck off at first because I was like, who is telling you to do this?
You know.
It's like the people telling Bullfrog that he's dating the chick from ESPN. It's like, what? You know what I'm saying? It's just fake and whatever. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, but then you're explaining like it's kind of like
Cosplay.
cosplay like theme night for the club you go to.
Yeah.
So I was
Well,
like, don't
not
go out
really
in
that bad.
public wearing that. You know what I mean?
You
Like you're
know I
not Drew
would never do
McIntyre.
that. You
You're not
know I
Drew
would never do.
McIntyre. You're not Roddy Piper. You know what I'm saying? I was pissed off at first, but then you explained it, and I was
Exactly.
like, all
Yeah.
right.
It was a little cosplay I often did. I mean, I even showed you a photo in your messages about me almost dressing like the Undertaker. That was back in 2020 when the pandemic
Well, that was
struck us from
perfect. Look,
behind.
perfectly normal, but the kill just threw me off a bit because you're a
Yeah,
gothic
you
man, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, but like I said, even said to you in the DM on X, I've seen many guys come up to the castle wearing black kilts, leather kilts, you know, dark plaid kilts. I mean, I've seen it many times before, and They
Can
come
we
in with
post? Can you post a? Can you bring the picture up with you and Drew McIntyre, please, so fans can see?
let me see, get this here because YR did this.
Yeah.
He, it's kind of a funny. Is what's before we get to that? What's
Yo,
going on,
it's like,
Paul? What's
is it
up,
hot?
Dave?
Brown, is it hot? The kilt, is it like a wool?
Well, it is pretty much. It's like a wool or something like It's pretty much.
Man.
It's heavy cloth either way. And I'm
And
not
you're
gonna
gonna
go
you're
into the
gonna
mall.
wear like flip flops with this? What kind of shoes are you gonna
Hell
wear with it?
no! I'm gonna wear my regular shoes. I'm not gonna wear that bullshit.
Come
Flippity
on,
flop and all
Brown.
that crap. That's bullshit. That's fag wear. I don't wear that shit.
Come on, bro.
That's what I don't do
Daddy,
that.
Daddy Day, well, the Prog God, Daddy Dave, and P3 here. Daddy Dave, what do you think about the kilts on men? Do you feel that appropriate, or you think it's just for
Um,
actors and Hollywood people? And
I think Paul here is looking like Matthew McConaughey from True Detectives.
yeah,
All right.
yo, P3, your audio's not working, brother.
I think he's muted right now. I think he was waiting
No,
for his time to speak.
he unmuted,
Oh,
but
okay. I wasn't checking there.
Wait,
we
real
can't hear him.
quick question for Daddy Dave. What do you think
Yeah.
about the Elon Trump thing? You think that's real, or you think Elon's an asshole? What do you think? So I know you have all that.
It's interesting. I think it's just all theater, to be quite honest. I think they're purposely playing out a certain script. Um, and I mean, like Elon came out and said Trump's on the Epstein list. If that's the case, that would have come out even before the first term. To disqualify him and keep him from power and stuff. We've seen the manifestos going to and from Lolita Island on the Lolita Express. Trump was never on those. There was one time where apparently he jumped on a plane that Epstein owned from Florida and went to New York, but the guy never went to the Epstein Island thing. So for Elon to say this because he knows he doesn't have anything, to me, it can only reason that he's trying to force Pam Bondi to release the files that she says she would, but she never did. That whole thing got sort of forgotten real quick is that, one of the big portions of the platform of his election was that he was going to choose people that are going to release the information that everyone wants to know about, who's on the Epstein list, fucking who's stealing the money and all that stuff. So it could be that, but I came here to talk music.
Pam Bondi.
Right there. I just put in
I,
the
th- I
chat.
think I think Joe will be live later tonight talking that, so maybe you can join the Discord, Daddy Dave over there. Be nice. I pay for that. But the Prog
Come on, when the
God,
smartest guy you've got over there is Garguts, then you should be worried.
yeah. Yo, but look, I'm not much into the prog. I mean, I can throw some bands out there like Styx. You can argue he's a prog rock band. Boston.
Well, that's a problem. Dave, I don't think Dave sees Boston as a prog rock group. I remember
No,
this
they're not
debate.
they're not a prog rock group. Justin Bailey blasphemed when he brought this up on Monetize This
Monetize
or
this.
whatever it was.
One
And
says 68.
Leah, who goes to Snopes, Leah Cronin, her number one source is Snopes. So it's just insanity.
Snopes.
And what people don't seem to understand nuance. There's a difference between being influenced, and why I don't think you get this, but there's a difference between influence and actually being prog rock, like through and through.
Yeah. It's a good debate point, though, because there is elements
Nobody's debating
that
this,
it's.
at least in my opinion. The only one who's putting up, roadblocks is you. Like, what you say you don't know prog rock, but like you're willing to, again, sort of like just think that Boston is like, have you ever?
Well,
You must have listened.
what would be everyone's own individual definition of prog rock?
Well, for me, prog rock is it's a music genre which often includes a lot of stories, from fables from the Middle Ages, mixed in with a lot of classical influences touched in it as well. Like, for example, the keyboard styles of Keith Emerson and Rick Wakeman, and the keyboard player from Dream Theater, for example.
Yep.
And plus, with a lot of
Oh,
like one of the bands I was into, King Crimson, I was big on
Yep.
Robert
Yep.
Fripp's playing. They added a lot of different subjects within their musical structure. For example, um, they had a song called Circus, which is about the corruption of innocence. That was on their third record. And plus, the song Moonchild, which is probably one of the first ambient pieces on their. It's very interesting track, very relaxing piece to listen to without a question. Of course, you cannot forget the title cut from "In the Court of the Crimson King," which is, I guess, people still say was the first ever prog rock album to make its debut into that genre. But, however, we cannot forget the crazy world of Arthur Brown, because he did a lot of well, his kind of prog was more towards the dark side.
so it's a
Hence
more
the
progressive. It's a more progressive view on writing a song, playing a song. It's like instead of lyrics that have to do with booze or women or love,
Mhm.
heartbreak. It's songs
Yes.
about an Irishman going on a ship, down the coast, and the waves are hitting the ship, just like
Mhm.
the Ride Me Ancient Mariner by Iron Maiden.
Yeah, all
That's
their
what I'm saying.
songs.
Prog met. It's progressive. Iron Maiden's progressive metal. They might be like the makers of that in a way, as well too. They might be like the creators of progressive metal, or one of like the founding fathers,
It's
because
interesting
it,
that
it
you're mentioning prog metal,
yeah.
because doing a little look up here prior to the show, um, on Wikipedia has a list of progressive rock artists. They actually list Black Sabbath as a
Mm.
progressive band, and
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
I don't know. Explain it to me like I'm five. Like, how
Well,
do they have influences? Yes, but I see them as like heavy metal. Like that's like one
Yes.
of the original heavy metal bands that established the style that, is still influenced today. Do they have prog influences? Yes, absolutely.
they do.
And we should dissect that. But how would you claim them to be entirely prog rock and not metal, Earl?
Well, in a lot of ways, when you think about it, the first album, titled, as we know, Black Sabbath, they added a lot of the different touches into side one and side two. Like, first we have the thing called Behind the Wall of Sleep. They had that was it's hard to put it into perspective. I mean, they had a whole bunch of different stuff thrown into one stuff. And this was mostly road tested material that they did in the past before they got signed. I mean, they added a lot of different elements in the cover version of the song Warning, which, by the way, was originally done by a group called Ainsley Dunbar's Retribution a couple of
Done.
years before the Sabbath got a hold of it. I mean, when you think about it, they did the version, then they went into a different structure with Tony Iommi solo, then the bass and drums cut out, then we hear Iommi soloing, and then Iommi once again doing some chords, and then they start up with the beats again, and they continue with the remainder of the Warning song. That, in a lot of ways, is kind of progressive when you look at it. Basically, it's taking chances with different musical structures, different elements. Like I think even death metal bands have been known to do this as well with some of their music.
What's Paul say?
That's a good question. We haven't heard from Paul in a long while. Paul, you there, dude? Paul? And he is not muted. I know now he's muted now. I know he's from his phone. Now
This
he's
one, how
on.
about?
There we
There
go.
you are. There you are, dude.
I don't know why it's not working on my computer. I have no fucking clue.
Ah, okay. So you switch your phone. I see there.
Yeah, just a couple things to say. I might be a little off today. I had a fucking concussion on Monday, so I'm like kind of out
Yeah, I
of it
heard about
still.
that. You okay, man?
Not really, no. I'm pretty fucked up, to be honest. I have like a clinic and stuff I gotta go to and shit. I'm all jacked up, but I
Wow.
gotta say, wearing a kilt is still less gay than talking about Iron Maiden for 45 minutes. Goddamn.
I'm gonna have to agree on that,
Dude.
especially with the fervor that YR was putting out there.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really annoying, to be honest. I was kind of pissed, like nobody could hear me because that was unbearable to listen to for that long. I think Iron Maiden is semi cringe, to be honest, with all like the weird theater elements and little Bruce Dickinson like running around, and then you're gonna tell me that I can't fucking have my phone at your show? Go fuck yourself, bro. After paying how much for tickets? No, I don't think so. That in and of itself is one of the most cringe things I've ever heard. So fuck Iron Maiden and fuck
Well,
UYR.
well, the only
And
thing
Black
I'm gonna.
Sabbath is not a prog band. Black Sabbath is not a prog band. That is just
Mm,
asinine.
well,
Yes.
Wait a minute. Hey, yo. So you just don't know. You never been to Iron Maiden concert. You wouldn't understand.
I'm good, bro.
Number one.
No, but he's never
I'm
You
good.
been
wouldn't
to
understand.
a recent AC/DC concert either, but I think he kind of
Yes.
gets the gist of it.
Well, now look. At the end of the day, I'll debate Paul 3 and Dave Rose on AEW, LGBTQ wrestling organization, Pride Month. Um, but we have to do it when
Do you know
everyone's here, like we are.
Tony Khan's dad donated like $1 million to Trump? So what the fuck are you talking about?
mm,
AEW is a pro LGBT pride
Not.
trans.
I think they're just trying to be open to accepting anybody so they can have fans because they're a new company, you idiot.
yeah. Hence Nyla
I
Rose.
think choosing a MLB baseball stadium is the biggest mistake they could ever make.
I think AEW
Not be
is like
full.
better
Half
than
the
WWE right
seats aren't
now.
even fucking sold yet, bro. It's like 40,
Yeah.
maybe 40% are sold.
Do you get excited when you see Slim Jim logos on tables? Like that's fucking lame, bro. They're about to put Slim
Now
Jim
all of
logos all
wrestling,
over the tables.
WWE, everything's gay right now. Everything's unwatchable right now for me. NXT is pretty cool though.
They sold out Wembley, and again,
Yeah, but it's different
among
over there,
people,
Dave, in Europe. It's different. They eat up wrestling. It's different than America. Trust me. Watch. You're gonna be like, wow, they should have gone. Look, this is not a wrestling show, but we're gonna have this debate one day soon because this
Yeah.
I
drives me
offered it to you
crazy,
the
bro.
other day, and you chose not to take it up, so that's on you. But I'm here to talk prog rock and music in
Okay.
general.
Paul 3, you look like when Foley used to tie his hair back in
Somebody
the
said I
day.
look
Remember
like
that?
oh yeah, I wore a black hat and I had a ponytail through it, and somebody said I look like Paul Heyman.
Mm, yeah.
Yo, so back to the Prague God, Dave. Did you want to
No,
mention
but
Rush?
no, I want to first address the question that
Go
you
ahead.
asked, which I think is important, which is like what defines prog rock? And to me, for example, one aspect that, although not specific, it just accentuates, it doesn't seem to be added on top, is the use of electronic instruments like, synthesizers and sequencers, and other devices that are sometimes, they were made custom made. So basically, I would say that prog rock started in the mid '60s when there became that fascination with developing these sorts of electronic devices and creating unique sounds. Um, and really just doing it off the cuff and not really, a lot of musicians not even knowing about electronics put these things together and provided such unique accentuations to the music that felt as if they were always part of it. It wasn't like, okay, let's record something and add on top of that some sort of electronic sound.
Mhm.
Th- by the usage of this electronic instruments, um, I think that's a defining and important factor when it comes to uh, the definition of what prog rock is. Obviously, there's classical influences. There's a certain sequential instrumentation that occurs, and why I was sort of joking about it, but it's true. There are stories that are told. It's certainly not rock music to dance to. It's more like, and it's very exclusive to that era, mid 60s and mid 70s, where it was more of like, I'm going to sit back, maybe smoke a joint, drink a cup of wine, and listen to this album. Not there's just one track, like Spotify, whatever. It's just like, listen to the album, both sides. Because literally, it's an entire story that's being told, and it's continuous. Yeah, you've got the timestamps as to okay, when this timestamp indicates a new song titled so and so. But literally, if you were just listening to it without looking at the album titles and stuff, you would have no idea, right?
All right, so
It would be one thing.
Daddy Dave, you mentioned custom, you know, devices, instruments to make certain sounds. We could go to the Rock Man by Boston guitarist
Tom Schultz.
Tom Schultz. I mean, if you look in their stage
I want to hear
shows
personally. We can get to that, but I personally want to conclude your question with Paul 3
quickly.
answering what he considers to be defining of prog rock.
All right,
Well,
Paul. Go
I'd
ahead.
like to reference everybody to a documentary you can now find on YouTube. It was by the BBC. I think it was like maybe 15 years ago at this point. It's called Prog Rock Britannica, and it details really the rise of progressive rock. And really, it came out of England with a
Yep.
basis in European music and not so much the blues, the American blues, as like, bands like Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, those types of bands kind of draw from. It's more of, like I said, drawing from the classical composers. Also, some of if you ever heard of the Canterbury Tales as well,
Yep.
that is a big influence on some of that music back then, talking about like wandering minstrels and knights and stuff like that. That was huge, so I think that's also a large part of it. And Dr. Brown was kind of hit the nail on the head when he said it's music that takes chances. I'm not going to say every genre, every band that takes chances is prog. Obviously, that's silly, but prog definitely does take chances instrumentally, like Dave said. And YR pointed out ignorantly with the Rockman, that's not accurate. We're talking things like the Hammond organ, the Moog synthesizer,
The thing that
Yes, the Moog.
the
excuse me,
thing that
excuse me,
Jimmy Page
excuse me,
used.
excuse me, Jimmy. I'm not even going to consider, like I just told you, Led Zeppelin to me isn't really prog. Did they have some songs with prog elements?
No.
Fuck yeah.
Oh my God!
But
Because that was about to say before you went in, real quick, Dave and everyone,
Oh
real
yeah,
quick,
turn your
that
volume.
Led
Jimmy
Zeppelin is
J-
not
like that.
prog.
Jimmy Page. No, it's not. Zeppelin's not
So
pop, but Jimmy Page used certain items in that wiggly thing that he puts on his fingers with the sound thing. Brown, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking
Sound
about.
wave
Unfortunately,
thing.
I cannot pronounce it, but I know exactly what you're
okay, so there
talking
was an
about.
influence that was used. Again, I was going to get to this, but a lot of bands
Dave is right
experimented
on that.
with prog styles and influences before they moved on to other things. But I need to go back to what Paul was saying. I'm looking at a Wikipedia article right now that says in 2014, Peter Gabriel remarked, despite prog probably being the most derided musical genre of all time, there was, as today, a lot of extraordinary musicians trying to break down the barriers to reject the rules of music. It was genuinely pioneering at the time. We didn't always get it right, but when it did work, we could move people and get some magic happening. I see it all as a very healthy part of growing up.
Like, yes, what were major, um, starters? Since it's Pride Month, a lot of LGBTQ members back then were Yes fans of prog rock, right, Paul?
How do you know this?
Bro, I'm the one with the concussion, and you're managing somehow to be more retarded than I am. Like, you say the dumbest shit ever, bro.
Look, I
It's so
don't have
stupid.
much to add on prog rock. I don't have much to add, guys, on prog rock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
it's
but I
not
certainly know it's
socioeconomic.
not gay.
It's
What about
disco,
Well,
which is
what
supposed to
about
be gay.
Sticks? In all seriousness, what about Sticks? Consider
Maybe
Sticks.
early on, yeah, Six could be classified in the
Yes.
prog
Yes,
genre
yeah, the
there,
two
but
first albums.
I think it's
they're
important to mention as to what bands we can point to that to say that's definitively prog rock. So, for
Emerson, Lake and
example,
Palmer.
well, that's
Absolutely.
one that certainly is up there. We've got Kraftwerk. Again, you were mentioning that it really is a UK, well, it's a European thing, but the UK had huge influence on prog rock, and obviously that did sort of migrate to America and other parts. But UK certainly had. So you had Kraftwerk, you had a huge scene in Germany. Who else you got? Mike Oldfield, Alan Parsons. Yeah,
Hawkwind?
there's
Hey, how about me and Brown saw this band together live in person? For Christ's sakes, what about Queensryche?
That's
Well,
more of the prog metal
They're on the
stuff.
cruise to the edge. They're on the cruise to the edge, Paul 3. The prog
Yeah,
rock
because
cruise.
yeah, I mean, because there's some crossover in prog metal, like I shared a couple weeks ago with that website,
yep,
auralmoon.com. There's a huge
yes.
prog community, and there is a little bit of a crossover with prog metal and prog rock.
Mhm.
But I'm talking about bands early on, like ELP, King Crimson,
sure
and
you got
another. I'll tell
Green.
you, a great American prog band is Kansas. If you haven't listened
Yeah,
to
that's true. We
Kansas
got to get it to
Right.
discography,
them. Yeah,
I
yeah,
certainly
because
know
incredible
Kansas.
band.
yeah, exactly. Oh,
But
let's
okay,
hope.
so why would you? Because
Kansas,
I guess
really?
I'm not well versed
Yes.
in Kansas's repertoire, but they seem more to me more like classic rock. But
Yes.
what can you point to that really definitively shows that they're progressive, Joe?
Bro,
Joe. Fuck, why just say Joe?
okay,
Yes.
they have
Correct.
they have a song called Father Padilla Meets the Perfect Gnat. Okay, their fucking shit is absolutely insane. Check out a song called Magnum Opus by Kansas.
Mhm.
Journey to Maria Braun is another one. They have so many prog songs. The album Song for America, their first album, Kansas. Their second album, Mask. If just listen to them without going and thinking about Carry On Wayward Son or thinking
Or
about Dust in the
Dust
Wind,
in the Wind. Yep.
Okay,
yeah, actually listen to the album cuts,
I'm in
kind of
for a
like what you
treat.
said earlier. It's like
I'm
what
in
you
for
said
a treat.
earlier, putting on an album and just kind of like absorbing it. They are
Okay.
the absolutely the perfect band for that. When I think about my childhood and when I had my vinyl set up and everything, when I think about that, it's always me blasting Kansas, that sick fucking prog with those old
And they're
speakers
on
and that,
tour right now. They're on tour
dude.
right now.
Well, it's not the same, bro. Let's
Exactly.
not
The
get
only
into
original member,
the
I
whole
believe,
discussion.
is the only original
you take
member,
what
I
you get.
believe,
Look,
is
if you like them that much, you'll go out and see whatever. Look, so what about and look, this is really an unarguable band, but it's not mentioned ever. Would you consider the band Tool, prog metal, prog rock, or one of the
Who?
both? Tool.
Tool. Yes, I would
Uh,
consider them prog rock for
no,
the alternative crowd.
Prog
they're
metal,
industrial.
maybe.
Those are a lot of a lot of those
They're
songs are long,
industrial.
guys.
Mm.
Maybe a
Which is not
mix.
bad.
If you listen to the song Third Eye from Tool, that is definitely a prog,
You know what I'm
maybe even
saying?
prog rock. It's kind of
There's
weird
a
to
lot
even
of
call that
bands that
prog
you wouldn't
metal.
think.
But
There's
can
a
you
lot of
not
bands you wouldn't
accept,
think.
YR, can you not accept the fact that there can be massive amounts of influence of prog rock, even in just
Hmm.
one song,
Yes,
but it's not prog rock and they're not a prog rock band.
thank
That
you.
is what should be again, Boston is not a
Well,
prog rock band.
it's not a
Maybe they had
prog rock
songs that
band, but
had
there is
influences from prog rock, but it's not a prog rock band.
dip
Okay,
into
Here's
the
like
why
Pink
ketchup
just
and
Floyd.
now
mustard,
Pink
but
listen.
it's
Floyd
not
is
the
essentially
whole. It's not the whole
synonymous.
hamburger, but they they
Rush.
dip into
You
the
were just
mustard.
talking about Rush.
Here's
Rush is
Justin.
absolutely prog rock, and they're fucking a shining example.
Alan Parsons Project.
Yeah, I talked
Justin
about them
Bailey.
earlier.
Yes,
Justin
yes.
Bailey. Justin Bailey. He heard the intro to Foreplay "Long Time" by Kansas and immediately thought
Yes,
they were a prog band. That's why he's an ignorant
Yes.
douchebag, anyways.
Let's
and a
let's so
band.
well let's not also forget the piece "The Journey," which is between the title cut of "Don't Look Back" and the song "Don't Be Afraid."
Again, prog elements. They were like
Yep.
heavily a studio band. That's what
Or
happens when you are a
Is this
studio
a
band.
prog?
Yes,
Is this a prog Elements or a prog rock band? Pink Floyd.
I just said
Well,
I was
Prog rock.
talking. I said earlier they are almost synonymous with prog rock, as in like many people when you ask prog rock, they'll think Pink Floyd first.
mhm.
Years of
Although,
it, you're saying.
although I'll say that Pink Floyd is so unique that their brand, their genre is really Pink Floyd. I don't think you
Yeah.
can find any other band that has that style. It just became so unique that it's Pink Floyd.
Okay, what about this? Might be
Mhm.
one of the we're talking about early on, guys. This might be one of the
There's other
pioneers.
bands that
You
applies
tell
to.
me. What about the band Genesis?
The early
Well, it
Genesis with
depends on
Peter
how
Gabriel.
early in their career, because that's another example where they did start off as prog, but essentially by 1986 with Phil Collins, it was
Top 40.
contemporary. What would you call it, Paul?
Top 40. Top 40 without a question. I mean, every song they put out was on the radio, charting the tops. I mean, like songs like In Too Deep, Invisible Touch, Land of Confusion, or the other
Yep.
pop stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great
Exactly.
point. So
But the,
this, and I mentioned that earlier, Wire, is that there were bands that either dwelled in it, or they started like that and then eventually just changed their sound entirely. So you can't define them as a prog rock band anymore. They've moved on from that sound to another one. I mean, it happens.
That is true.
yes, that's true.
Okay, and so what about this brand Brown? And I saw this band. They just recently got back together with their
I
the
saw Yes
drummer,
in concert, by the way.
Ah, nice.
and they
Same
opened
here,
for
great.
Iron Maiden, guys.
Mhm.
Dream Theater. What do you think
Yes.
about Dream Theater?
They're
That's
very
a great
respected as
band, and
well.
again, that is also considered absolute prog rock. There's no sort of
Yes,
That's prog metal.
Yes,
Prog metal to me for sure.
metal.
prog metal. And by the way, why you
Okay,
got to check out their version of Dark Side of the Moon. They performed that album very top notch all the way through. Check it out here on YouTube, folks.
But yeah, I
all
mean
three.
the
I think all
crossover.
three. All three
Yeah,
has
I
it.
think there's an interesting discussion to be had about prog bands after prog became not popular and really punk kind of took over,
Mhm.
and what these prog bands were left doing. And I'm a big ELP fan, which is Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and it's kind of interesting to see their end of their career because they went from, I don't know, 1977 on tour with an orchestra with three semis carrying all of their shit, with each one
Wow.
having Emerson, Lake and Palmer, their names on top of it. They went
What?
from that. They
Yep,
went
they
from
did.
that to 1.5 years later. They released an album called Love Beach, and they looked. Oh, you have to look up that album cover, and they
I
look
heard
absolutely
about it.
cringe.
Exact. I know. I
The album's
saw
not
that.
so bad. The album's not so bad, but it essentially ended their career for about 20 years till they came back in the 90s. And yeah, it really it killed them. Some bands they made it, like Genesis. Oh my goodness, you could argue they're more popular after the prog stuff. But yeah,
Uh,
there are
yeah,
bands out there like
absolutely.
ELP that absolutely
quick
died when
question.
prog
Quick
died.
ELP question for or um slash yes. I get those bands confused, but which one is doing the tour now where it's just like the keyboard player?
Hmm.
That was Rick Wakeman from Yes. ELP, there's only one original member left, and that's Carl Palmer. And he
Yes.
goes out by himself on drums, and he has two musicians, a guitar player and a bass player. And they also use like video screens to show
That's
Greg Lake
cool.
and Keith Emerson on stage as well. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But it's kind of
Look, I'm
weird
gonna be on.
because
Look,
those two wanted to reunite, and Carl Palmer was the one who said no, yet he's the one using their images now and making money off of them, so it's
Yeah.
kind of disgusting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Brown,
no,
would
it
you
is
say? And this
ridiculous.
one, a lot of people argue with me on this in the music community, but um, in the industry and everything. What about the band Heart?
Let's
Not
not
really
prog.
prog. It's just regular
Deep
rock.
Purple. Can we stop talking about non-prog? Let's talk about like fucking
I'm
Deep Purple,
asking
bro.
you because I don't.
No, you
What
gotta
about
Well,
learn, bro.
what,
Moody
You
well,
gotta
Blues?
what
learn.
about these
What about
guys?
Moody Blues?
Tangerine Dream.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, Tangerine Dream is definitely in the prog thing, but there, like I said, Deep Purple is another one. Like you got to listen to their fucking
Yep.
Really?
early shit, man. Yeah, early shit. Shades of Deep Purple. That's a little bit more psychedelic, but you can definitely tell
Prog
the
and
like
psychedelic.
it was
Well,
like the
that's the
beginning
thing
of prog, man.
is sort of the prog scene developed post psychedelic.
It is
Yes,
true. That makes
And it
sense.
was, and it became more of an avant-garde type,
Yeah.
like postmodern expression. But again, it was a clear shift, and you got like these stories. I mean, even why I was making fun of like, or who what was it? Somebody was saying about like, no, you were saying, sorry, you weren't making fun of it, Paul, but you were like talking about troubadours and bards and stuff traveling and telling stories. Like, yeah, there's that sort of thing going on.
Paul 3
Yeah.
hates theatrical themes in music.
No, I don't, because I'm thinking right now of an album by
What?
Jethro Tull. There's an album called Minstrel in the Gallery,
I
and
heard
that's what
Yeah.
that.
it's all about, bro. It's literally from the standpoint of a minstrel and, and everything that he's seeing, and
Or better
it's the
yet,
craziest shit you've ever heard.
yeah. What? Don't let's
Right.
not forget a Passion Play by the same group as well. I had that album
A
on
passion,
vinyl, and
dude. You want to
Hold
talk
on. This
about Prague?
list this
You
list
want to
is
talk about
saying real
Prague?
quick.
Why are shut up? You have no
YR,
idea about
shut
Prague.
up.
Shut the fuck up, bro. You have no idea
I'll
about
write in the
Prague.
why?
chat.
You're
I'll
just
write it in
changing.
the chat.
Good,
Okay.
yeah. A passion play. If you're talking about levels of prog listenability, I would put like an easy listening on Court of the Crimson King. Brown,
Mm,
you bring up a
yes.
passion play, that
Yep.
is a fucking red alert level prog listen right there.
Mm,
That's hard to get through, to be honest, even for a prog fan. So
mhm.
if you want to hear hardcore prog, check out Jethro Tull, a passion play. And if you can't
Mm.
get through it, I won't fault you.
It is most agreed there. Plus, what intrigued me was the cover of the featured the dead ballerina on the cover there. That
Yeah,
was intriguing.
there's a lot more tall out there that's way more digestible. Like I said, Minstrel in the Gallery, even Heavy
Hmm.
Horses is another one. And the earlier tall stuff, you can definitely call it prog, but they started out as a blues band. For
Yes.
instance, their first album was heavily blues based, and their original guitar player, can't
Was
remember
Tony
his exact
Iommi?
name. Well, no. On the first album, who actually played, Nick something, who went on to
Mm,
form a band called Bloodwind Pig, who was a
mm,
really respected blues band in Britain. But after he left, they hired on Martin Barr, who
mhm,
stayed on as the lead guitar player for Tall for, I don't know, damn near 50 years. He just left actually about 3 years ago. So,
mm.
and that really developed their sound. So, I would like to like maybe talk about some of these bands who are actually prog and not so much about the bands who aren't. Like Heart. Heart is like a
What
fucking
question?
classic rock band.
No, but
Exactly.
stop listening to YR about like, oh, is
What
this
question?
person? No, we're trying to tell you who
No,
it
because
is.
there's people listening
Oh
to the
my
show
god!
that are like me and they don't know. So I'm asking the questions.
But
That's
they
what
would,
we're
Ask
here
they'd
for,
be,
to teach them one on one and what
yeah,
prog
but
really
I'm sure
is.
they'd be more
Exactly.
Well, they don't
courteous and
know
let us
who the fuck
answer.
Green Cactus. They don't know who Green Cactus is, but they do know who the band Grateful Dead is. Would you consider that in the progressive movement?
God.
No, I would hit the.
No,
I consider
It's
them
they're
long. It's long.
psychedelic
It's
CIA
enemy band type
psychedelic.
songs. Got
jam
long.
band.
Dude,
Fucking-
Jam
jam
band.
bands are not prog. Jam bands are
Exact.
not prog, bro.
Jam bands are usually bands that just jam for the sake of
Fish.
jamming
The
it. They're
band
doing it for the
Fish.
Guys,
light.
let's just ignore
The
his
band
stupid
Fish.
points because they're really stupid. I
Yeah.
was gonna again try to move on to Moody Blues, for example.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
there you go.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Days of
They're
Future
basically
Past.
credited with the first prog album, so
Days of
Days of
Future Past.
Future Past, yeah.
Yes. Yes. And let's not forget a question of balance, In Search of the Lost Chord. Oh, of course, one of my favorites, To Our Children's Children, which was based from the moon landing.
Hmm.
And you want to talk about instrumentation and just
Yes.
certain instruments.
Yes.
The Moody Blues are very famously known for using mellotron,
Oh
used
yeah.
by the legendary Mike Pinder,
Rest in
who is
peace, you
just a,
Mike.
yeah, amazing player. And you can hear mellotron on a lot of prog, especially King
Yes.
Crimson and of course the Moody Blues.
And
Yes. Well,
that's why to me it's such a big deal that it's one of those defining factors of prog rock is that you've got those sorts of specialized instruments that are just it goes perfectly. Like it's not like it feels forced that you're forcing a sound in there that doesn't belong. It just it's perfect.
It's no different than a heavy metal guitar player using like a crazy three humbucker, crazy active guitar and a big amplifier. It's just the tools of the trade. It's pretty much just what you find in prog music. There's a certain setup just like you would have in a country band or anything like that. So yeah, you're right, 100% there. Hammond organ, Moog synthesizer, Mellotron, you got a fucking prog band.
Exactly.
Organ is just when done right, it works so well. But like you don't really hear it too much these days in contemporary music. But there's something about an organ that just works so well.
And
Yeah,
how
the
it's
Hammond
played.
organ is legendary. Yep,
Yeah.
and you got a lot of the in the Prague community, the organ players, the Hammond players are really revered. So you have like usually the number one guy that people go to and point to is Keith Emerson from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Number two is usually like Rick Wakeman from Yes. Number three is John Lord from Deep Purple.
Hmm.
Number four is usually like did I say Rick Wakeman
You did,
for number two?
yes.
No.
Sorry, like I said, my concussion. I'm fucked. And then number four is like Rick Wright from Pink Floyd,
Hmm.
Yep.
and then you can go down the line like that. But those big four really are the keyboard heroes of Prague that everybody points to.
All right. Definitely. And going back to the Mellotron, I got to throw in, I mentioned these guys, but we never dug into them. Tangerine Dream and their ex member, Klaus Schulze, who is no longer with us, as well as Edgar Froese from Tangerine Dream. He passed away in beginning of 2015. That was a surprise when I heard about it because he was the only original member of Tangerine Dream that was left. And now he, guess the guy that's running Tangerine Dream right now was given the green light by Mr. Froese himself to continue the legacy. I cannot pronounce the gentleman's name, but his Johannes or something like there. Remember, I'm not good at foreign names, so you got to forgive me on that level there. But
Yeah,
go
there's a.
back.
I like the deep. Yeah, sorry about that.
Let's go. But let's
I
talk
was
about albums they did, like Atom, ATEM, which I did a review on a couple years ago for my channel. Phaedra, Rubicon, the one that got me started on them. Also albums like Stratosphere, Ricochet, which is a live release. I think the central lineup would have to be Froese, Peter Ballman, and Chris Frank.
Yeah, Edgar Froese was definitely a genius, and I mean, there's a lot of prog bands that aren't really widely recognized. Like you have your Pink Floyds, you have your King Crimsons, hell, you even have your Frank Zappa. You know what I mean? You have all
Mhm.
those big names, but there are bands like one of my favorites is a band called Caravan, and there's a guy in there named Richard Sinclair, and he's known in the they call it the Canterbury prog scene, which, like I said, it kind of talks about the Canterbury tales and knights and maids and minstrels and all that stuff and dragons.
Mhm.
And Richard Sinclair is a bass player and a singer. And man, I want you guys to look into Caravan.
I'm looking at their wiki article
He
right
was in a
now.
band called Caravan. He was in a band called Hatfield in the North, and he was in a band called Camel for a minute there, actually. And his voice, bro, his voice is it's the quintessential British prog voice. I just want you guys to maybe check some of his stuff out and some of that music out after the show, because it is some of the most peaceful music I've ever heard, honestly, and it's prog through and through, but it's not really like in your face prog. I don't know how to describe it, especially in my current state, but all I can do is suggest it and
That's
put
why I
that
love
out
this
there.
show is that again, you guys drop names of bands that some people might never even encounter. And when you do, they're fucking it blows your mind. Like that I can't remember I've got the link somewhere, Paul, but like that band that I again was prog rock that you pointed me to and I was just like, this shit is fucking amazing. What were they called again?
Bro, my mind is scrambled
No
eggs. I'm
worries.
sorry.
I'll look up the link,
Camel, I
but
think it was called. Camel.
which one?
I think it was
No,
Camel
made
is one.
one of them.
Camel is one that I would suggest to anybody to listen to. I don't think that was the band
it's
necessarily,
in
but
the Discord anyways. I remember responding to the link and saying like, "Holy shit, I'm checking this out right now. This fucking shit is incredible." And yeah, it was like really good. And again, it was just it tells a tale, and it's you wouldn't know if a new song started due to a timestamp because you're not looking at the album art or anything. You're basically just listening. It's taking you on a trip, and it's just you don't want to even walk away. It's like it just was really good stuff. I'm gonna look in the chat here, but
Yes.
another
Wait, oh,
band that I
Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Brown.
No,
I
I
just
was
had, well,
gonna.
okay, I'll bring it up real quick, and I want to mention it because before I
Okay.
forget, another band, well, at least an album I can point to that was, it's so weird. I guess, yeah, they get called prog for sure, and they're accepted in the prog community is Electric Light Orchestra,
Oh
and
yeah.
they have an album called El Dorado, and man, what you want to talk about a journey. Like I said, I remember when I was young, I had vinyl, a whole vinyl setup and all this, all the whole deal. And when I was like 14, 15, I put the album on. I shut all the lights off. I wasn't even high or anything, bro. And that album changed my life. It took me on a fucking a journey is such a cliche thing, but it really did. It took me on a journey that I still think about 20 years ago. So that is another album, El Dorado by Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh
And
man. You should probably.
Shout out to Jeff Lynne. Jeez, what a
Yes.
genius.
Yeah. Yes. And by the way, you should probably check out the album No Answer, which is their first record.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
with
these
Roy Wood.
Roy Wood, Jeff Lynne, Beth Van, they were all some members of a band called The Move, which I remember Arknoya telling me about, who originally did the version of Duya, which ELO would later do on their later albums. In fact, I checked out No Answer, and yes, definitely a lot of the tracks there are kind of like similar to Elgnor Rigby, but it's definitely very different. Because
It's
when
a
people
very
think,
different album.
oh yes,
Yo, so YR.
let's also not
Oh, he
forget the
left.
album. Yeah, he's gone. He probably all got all peeved off the fact that he was yeah, like I said, he
Unreal.
doesn't really know that much. Let's also not forget the album Time, a concept album that came out in 1981 that ELO did. I had the vinyl copy of that, the original pressing. Very good album when you look at it there.
Yeah, definitely. And they're another one that kind of like really crossed over into the mainstream big time, like ELO, and their whole style too is so in tune to them, sort of like a Pink Floyd. Nobody else sounds like
Yep.
ELO. You know, that's
Yeah.
them
They also had
100%.
great cover art.
Yeah.
I remember like the vinyls that my dad had, and I just like I as a kid, you just look at them like I don't know how long I looked at them for, but it's just like there's so much in that art, you know.
Yep, yep,
Dude,
absolutely. I'll
I
never
just
forget. Go ahead, go ahead. I just got a story after you, Brown. I'll let you
it's
go.
okay. The dude, I used to well, look when I used to listen to records, I would be examining album covers from Pink
Yep,
Floyd, Led Zeppelin. The album cover was meant to give length to the music. It was also to give a boost to the music inside of it. Like you don't have that much of that on Spotify or streaming services, and the CD formats of the albums. You have to really use a microscopic glass, to examine everything on it because I used to view, for example, the gatefold of Houses of the Holy. Beautiful scenery. I remember I showed it to my mom one time. She's like, wow, unbelievable, as well as the outer cover art, which, by the way, was filmed at a place called Giant's Causeway back in Ireland. And the two kids on there are actually brothers and sister, shot multiple times in the buff. And yes, that album got caught. That album did get in trouble with the Bible Belt, most definitely, because of what was being presented there. But you know what? The when you think about it, the album cover helped sell the album. It helped. I remember Bono from U2 said it best. If the album cover is interesting, most likely the music in the album cover is interesting as well. And let's
yep.
not
And
forget,
I'll never forget when Greg Lake said he loved albums because they were a good way to put weed on the side of it and then sift the seeds out because they would fall in the crack of the album. So I
I
never forgot
know,
that.
I remember hearing about that when I was in high school, when in junior high at one point.
Yep, back when weed had all those seeds and you had to get them out.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah, I
remember
love cover art though. Cover art really gets interesting, and this isn't prog, but I've brought it up before. I have an original copy of Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones, and on the
with the
front is an
zipper.
actual,
Yep.
yeah, real zipper. You could do stuff like that, or like Cheech and Chong, they had an album. can't remember
Big
which one. Maybe it was
Bamboo.
up in. Yeah, and it came with a big sheet, a big ass fucking joint paper, huge
Yep,
ass
and
paper.
rolling paper as they call it. Yes, I remember hearing about that as well there.
Or how about the White Album, which came with the portraits of all the members, which are
Yep, and
legendary.
that big poster with all those images on the front and the lyrics of
Yeah,
the
There
album
was
on the back.
there was clearly much more fanfare when an album was released because it was a big deal because again you'd have stuff like this sometimes you'd be blessed that the album would open up and you'd have even more area or text or something that the artist was giving you and sometimes you were blessed with a double album and stuff and yeah often you had lyrics that were
hmm
provided um, even even in the cassette days you would have inside the jacket you would have something that would just unfold and you'd have art you'd have lyrics you'd have you'd know who was playing what instrument, who produced it, all that sort of thing.
hmm
Maybe messages to the fans and stuff like that. It showed that there was a lot more effort from the artists to connect with the listener.
Absolutely. And you don't get that digitally. You don't get that on Spotify at all. I mean, yeah,
Or
that's a
Apple
big part of
Music
what's
or
missing.
iTunes.
No, that's a big part of what's missing in streaming music, 100%. And if you want that extra stuff, you're going to have to pay for it extra nowadays. So yeah, wow. I mean, it's not about the fans anymore. It's really not. It's about people trying to make money. It's about business. And
If
you
that's the
don't
route
need
you
that.
take, but I'm more than willing to buy some band's CD and album, whatever. Like if I like what I'm hearing, I'll help out a group. 'Cause again, I know the struggle that it
hmm
is. Um, and more importantly, it's like now I've got something unique. Like this is a sound that isn't influenced or tainted by Hollywood or whatever and it's just like this is raw and I've got to I got to experience this and here's the proof of that so there's bands for example that again I have of their CDs and stuff like they're again the ones that they burned but it's just like these guys were good and they might not exist no more but like they did it their way and um it was something that was under their control. You know,
Absolutely.
I'm sure as
Hmm.
an artist yourself, probably seriously concerned who has influence over your music and what they could do if they were to have you sign some sort of contract.
I remember Frank Zappa giving an interview saying that in the past, record companies would look at that album art and say, let's see if we could take a chance on put it out there as is, you know, um, and that would be it. Whereas in the later part, half towards the end of the 70s and the throughout the 80s, most of the record companies will try to mostly with the business has changed without a question. Me like nowadays, it's more like selling hot cakes by using negative or controversial elements as much as they can because a lot of people thrive on negative controversies regarding an artist or a rock band. I know one of the biggest chances that was taken back in the 70s was the original album cover for Virgin Killer by the Scorpions. And we already gave out the details on how much of a ruckus that album caused. You there, guys?
Yeah, I'm here.
Right.
I have nothing to comment on that.
Mm-hmm. So, I want to also bring up this gentleman, Klaus Schulze.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Yep.
can hear you, Paul.
Okay, sorry. I just figured out how to get my mic on my computer. I apologize.
Okay, there. Yeah,
Woo.
I was going to bring up this artist. He was a one-time member of Tangerine Dream. he would have a very established solo career as well. He released tons of albums like Dune, Irrelict, Cyborg, Klaus Schulze, who sadly was taken from us in 2022. I actually got turned on to his music by pure accident when I was living with my then girlfriend at the time back in Detroit. It was an album called Earlicht. I remember I had the shirt for it, the album cover. It has the alien on it, just relaxing, sitting on the this empty, vast space underworld he was residing in. It was a 3-movement album, 3 movements. You know, Ebbe, which means German for plain, as a desert plain. Gewitter, which is German for thunderstorm. And the third movement, which takes up all of side 2, Excel Sans Maria, which, by the way, is backwards. And the story about that piece is that when they recorded it, which, by the way, was with no synthesizers, just an organ played through guitar amplifier, rewired, some guitar effects on it as well, slide guitar effects, and a full orchestra. It actually is backwards. When they recorded the track originally, the tape for the master tape came into the mixing plant tails out, for what I understand, and it came out sounding backwards, completely backwards. Now, when Schulze got a test pressing for the album, he noticed that the third movement was backwards. He called up the record label, which I guess was called Ohr Records, OAR, which is German for ear, if I'm correct. He told them, hey, side 2 is backwards, but leave it like that because it actually sounds better. So the left record company decided, hey, let's go with what he says. I would love to find that album on vinyl today, most definitely, as well as Cyborg, which came afterwards, another superb album, because it's 4 tracks taking up all 4 sides. One track is about 26 minutes long or 24 minutes long, 21 minutes long. Definitely another recommendation from myself there. And we also cannot forget Black Dance as well. Dune, and also he did some projects with Arthur Brown as well as Lisa Gerard from Dead Can Dance. It's very sad. A very talented individual who is no longer with us, sadly. And do we
Now,
have
can
some?
you see my screen? Can you see my
Uh,
Yep.
screen?
yes, it says Watch Stream. That's what it says on the.
No, no. I don't know what you're watching, but I see Paul.
You see the video? Okay,
I
now I'm
see
gonna
Yep.
play
Paul.
something. This is a crazy prog band called National Health, and this is how crazy the prog got, and probably why that it eventually exploded and imploded, and punk killed it, is because of grandiose shit like this. I have a bunch of examples of that, but here's one. This
Mm.
band is absolutely insane, great technical band, but the guy plays, how do I say, a drawer of silverware. Just watch.
Mm.
Looks like girl.
That's just a little sample. I don't want to get you in trouble, but that's how crazy that prog got, and that's kind of
Yeah.
why people turned away
I
from
see,
it, to
yeah.
be honest.
Well, I can see a lot of funk, jazz influences in that, which sort of takes it away again from what I've defined as what I believe prog rock is, and it makes it too disoriented. I feel prog has a focus. It might not be evident, but it's telling a story. So you go with the story until it's told. You don't just take a moment and say, "Oh, this doesn't make sense." But that is clearly, I think, quite different.
And then I just have one more example here to show you. This is a band called Grobschnitt with a song called Solar Music. And I believe they were German Prague, which you mentioned earlier that, there's a lot of Prague in Germany as
Now that name
well.
sounds Argentinian.
Okay, maybe so. It sounded
Anyways.
German to me. Yeah, you might be right. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a world traveler, but this is why Spinal Tap basically happens. Shit like this. So let's watch.
I'm liking this actually.
It's good, but it's just ridiculous.
The theatrics? Oh, so Guar. I guess Guar is good, but fuck this. This shit, right? I'm not gonna deny that this is like okay, kind of, carnyish
Cheesy,
and circus like,
overdone.
but
Yeah.
no, it's a circus. It's Cirque du Soleil. It's fine. Cirque du Soleil has good music. No, but like, yeah, it's not necessary. It's unneeded. The music's fucking,
Good, yes.
sounding great to me. I don't need to see a bunch of clowns burning the stage down. But
Oh my goodness. Oh, dude.
You're about to pull a great white. Burn the whole fucking
yeah, too soon. Too soon.
thing. Look at this shit. Sparklers.
It's the WWE. Yeah, actually, this has better production value than WWE.
What the fucking hell?
How did you find this? How did you even know this existed?
Unbelievable.
I just-
Unbelievable, man.
Frog through the years, bro, and I don't want
He
to play
just
too
knows.
much more. But this is how crazy it gets. Look at
Oh,
this.
but that
shit.
music is great, though.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean that's
Is
just
this
how.
that different than fucking inflating two huge pigs on your stage and letting them float up? Like, it's
mean-
Prague. It's Prague.
It's Prog, it's grandiose, but I mean that's just,
But a little bit
that's
more
insanely cringe.
overdone when you look at it there. It's way overboard. I'm surprised. Did he use some sort of did he ever play venues that didn't have foam or cloth curtains or anything like that? Because when I think about that, of course, obviously it was mentioned. Great White came to mind because of what happened with them and that nightclub years back.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
gotta wonder. I'm sure they couldn't keep doing that at least for every show, and that was 1973. So Prague was absolutely booming right there. So you had a lot of that. So
yeah,
Genesis
that's
was doing all kind of shit around that time.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely check out Peter Gabriel during that same year with the hair little thing he had in the middle of his hairline. That was definitely there. Oh
I
yeah,
guarantee they
crazy.
weren't doing that in 1983. Yeah, and this is another one right here.
I remember seeing that.
And that was super hot on his head. He's remarked in numerous interviews
Wow.
that thing was hot as hell. But in that Prog Rock documentary, they point to Arthur Brown a lot about, being innovators for the pre-prog.
I love how there's sort of like an overlap between that mid to late 60s sound and this new sort of influence from obviously from Europe, from the use of new type of electronics, the focus as well also with a demonstration, a theatrical there's a lot that's just going into it, and
Absolutely.
I think that like there was this time where again, like I'm saying, like this crossover and stuff where it was very unique. The sounds that were being developed at that point certainly have remained today and continue to influence.
Yeah,
Yes, you can.
yeah, I think we now know where King Dynam got his makeup idea from.
Yeah, Arthur Brown was definitely a pioneer, and he's still out there. He still makes a circuit here and there and stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah,
Arthur Brown's still killing it.
And listen
Surprisingly,
again, listen to the usage of organ here. It
yes,
just
huge.
it just feels that it works. It's organic. It's not like added on top.
Yep, it's that club sound too. They also point out they got a lot of influence from the jazz clubs. A lot of those guys getting high down there and stuff. There's a lot of influence from that as well in Prague, which is interesting because they improvise a lot and they could jam and they could take it to crazy places and crazy times.
It's clear
This
that
is
there's been a fusion with a lot of different styles that are out there, but that's what makes prog so unique is that it takes all these things, but yet it combines them, but doesn't it makes it still unique in its own. It's not like, okay, you can definitely tell that this is just one influence from jazz. No, it's just like there's all these different influences, but the end result, the end product is so unique that you can't even consider it a product of the prior.
oh yeah. I know where you're
absolutely.
coming on with this one here, Deep Purple with the orchestra. I had that album once.
And you should look into some of the background on this, with them actually talking about it. Apparently, the the orchestra members were absolutely disgusted to be playing with Deep Purple. They did not like this, and it was a
Wow.
strange mixture. Yeah, it was a very strange mixture of rock fans in the audience, and then the orchestra people up there on stage, and there was a lot of tension involved. But it's a crazy sounding record, and crazier to watch live, to be honest. And this was 1969, so this isn't even really the height of Prague. This is when things just started getting grandiose. This is
And
post psychedelia,
Mhm.
and this is where music was headed.
what needs to be considered as well is that it became sort of considered an honor to do so, I
I'll be
guess,
back.
in the 80s onwards, um, with having a symphonic, or symphony, I should say, with your music, and being able to combine that with, what you wrote, and you know, if they were
It's
making
also
fun of it back then, it's quite a change.
Yeah, it's also that classical element here, like in real time. Like it's not just taking the classical elements and transferring them to guitar. It's actually
That,
working with these instruments and
yeah,
making a sound.
I really think that is not. I used to play violin. I used to be able to read line music and such. I could play any sort of string instrument, but
Oh,
basically, just understanding the work that goes into utilizing all sorts of string and wind instruments to accompany,
mhm.
um, any sort of rock music, whatever, anything other than classical, to combine it together and to make it flow and accentuate, um, is such a bigger task than I think people understand. And although I did like um, S&M by Metallica, I'm not gonna say like that's one of the greatest albums of all time. Did the symphony do well with them? Yeah, it was great and stuff. But let's be honest, they're not the most gifted songwriters, and they're again, you have better skill with prog rock, uh,
Mhm.
artists and bands to be able to um, combine both, rock music and
Right.
classical music together where it flows, doesn't feel like it's forced together. That's my big deal. Um, it, it's like hearing, I don't know, some sort of rock song. Um, I don't know, fucking, what's it called? Not Prince, sorry. Sting, who did
Mhm.
Every Breath You Take, and then you got
Mhm.
a rap song that's fucking using that tune. It's just like this is so forced. It's so obvious. I'm talking about where you cannot tell the difference. There's no seam in it. It just flows.
And this is that. I mean, look, for instance, I think it's harder on the rock musicians in this instance, or the whatever, the electrical players, because you got to be a real musician. You got to be able to read music to play with an orchestra like this. In
True.
Metallica's case, it was more of the orchestra following Metallica. But look at here, you can see these guys. John Lord, he has all that sheet music on his
Yep.
organ there. All the
I
bass
see it
players
as
reading
well.
music. This is a true mixture of classical and electrical music, rock music. I hesitated to call it rock, whatever you want to call it. Listen to this. See, he's reading music too, and there's a chart right there.
Thank you for sharing this with me, because I'm going to be watching this episode back, because everyone who's watching right now should.
And here's the Hammond organ, John Lord on the
Yep.
Hammond organ, ladies and gentlemen.
And he turns the page.
Look at that dude! Look at that dude!
Yeah, I'd be doing exactly that.
This is fucking incredible.
It is.
That organ.
What a fucking piece,
Oh.
dude!
It is.
That is not blues, bro. That is a fucking
No,
piece
that's
of
not.
music.
It is. Absolutely.
I'm sorry. That is.
And
something
you know
else.
what? Again, the passion that we're all sharing right now, like, I don't know why I have this affinity for this particular type of music, this era that's so, I guess, defined. But I don't know what it is, but it connects with me, and it sends me on a fucking trip.
Mhm. It's special, man. It's
Like, even like you were saying, like with no drugs, nothing. It sends you on a trip.
It does. It's a journey in and of itself. I mean,
Because it was original, it was made by real people, not by AI electronics or computers or anything like that.
absolutely. Oh, here they go back into. Now look. Now they're back with the fucking rock shit. Oh, listen to that mixture. Timpani.
Nice.
Oh my god! Ian Pace, baby. And a lot of these prog musicians were also classically trained when they grew up.
Yeah.
They're all-
Yeah.
God damn. He's a left-handed drummer.
Something else that we don't have a lot of these days: a proper drum solo. Respect the fucking drummer.
look at the people watching. Those guys watching.
Hey, you were paid a
Nice.
fucking.
Wow.
You were paid good bill. You sit there quietly and fucking play when you're asked.
Look at that! Oh,
Again, what year was this? 19.
69.
1969.
Okay, so obviously you have some squares. They work for a symphony. Obviously they're going to be a little, pissed. Fuck them. They're all probably all dead right now. So
All right. Well, I won't ruin the whole thing, but I just want to play that.
oh
for you
man, that
guys
was
right now.
fucking awesome,
It
dude.
is. Much
Holy
credit to
shit, I
you,
gotta
Paul.
check
Thank
that
you for
out.
sharing that with us, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, that got me
I think
into it. Even
I think it fits to say that a lot of hard rock, other bands like Metallica often drive from classical influences as well. I mean, like many of the earlier songs had different tempo changes, like "In the Eye of the Beholder" from "And Justice for All" was being one of the examples of that, or "Blacken" from the same album. But definitely, that was a good one. I like this a lot.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think we had a great discussion on you know prog rock. It was YR that was trying to make it a debate of some sort because I told him it's like there's going to be no debate. I think all of us here had sort of an idea as to what we consider prog rock and all the different influences that affected it and who is considered prog rock compared to uh, arena rock.
Boston or Heart or any other band.
Yeah,
Well, but
like
then what?
the stuff that he was throwing out. Oh, Boston hard, and it's just stop, Wire. Like why are you ignoring what you clearly know is false? Like,
YR's never seen any of those clips that I just showed you guys. Like he has no exposure to any of that music,
And
and
but he'll talk 45 minutes for fucking
about
Iron
Iron
Maiden.
Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Loves that Iron Maiden. He was talking to you with such he was talking to you, Earl, with the same passion that we were talking right now about prog rock. But
Yes.
in fact, our conversation held a lot more weight and a lot. Paul is correct to ridicule him for his love for that band, and also the obsession, exasperation for him to try to prove that that band is so great. I think is indicative that he's defending the indefensible. Not to
Well, I
say they
think,
don't, they rock. Absolutely, I enjoy their stuff, but it's just like they're not this pinnacle of fucking rock music. Wire, you gotta accept that.
well, yeah,
Like
remember, why are,
greatest live act of all time? I don't think so.
well, then again, YR is a prospect.
No, but I will have to disagree with Paul. Okay, the theatrics and stuff, that's Kiss during their Psycho Circus tour had fucking that Wheel of Death, the big metal ball where you had the motorcycles riding inside and shit and fucking clowns like blowing fire. Dude, that's fucking awesome. I love that shit. Pink Floyd. Again, nobody beats Pink Floyd with fucking two huge fucking blown up pigs. Okay, so it's just like theatrics, it even goes to prog rock. So I have no problem with that.
That's true. Yeah, but YR also needs to check out some of the bands that we have mentioned, as well as other musical
Absolutely.
groups out there, like the ones we mentioned, Tangerine Dream, Klaus Schultz, and other groups out there that I hear at the club that I
He's
go
got to
to.
expand his repertoire,
I
especially
agree.
in prog rock. I think that if he paid attention, he would have a good time.
Let
Yeah, I
alone
think
the
he'd like the
dust.
music. He would
Exactly.
like the
Also,
music, you know. It would fall right into what he's into, but I don't think he really gives it a chance, or it was. I don't know what his problem is. I think YR's the kind of dude that he falls into a routine that he's comfortable in, and he doesn't really deviate from it.
so
So much so that he's
he's in
willing
his
to go
comfort zone.
to what was that rapper? He wants to go see a rapper as opposed to
Little
AEW.
Wayne. Little Wayne.
And he was like, if you're gonna watch any rap concert, it should be this. It's like I'm not gonna watch any rap concert, and
No, that's
especially
just
not for this guy.
I've
But
been
like,
I've been hearing about Little Wayne since the early 2000s. I'm like enough already.
I mean, okay, if you want to talk about rap, I could go on about rap a little bit, and I'll say maybe there is some rap out there that I can kind of enjoy. I don't want to talk about this socioeconomic impacts it's had and on culture and all that other shit. That's another story. But as far as music goes, Lil Wayne is some of the worst music you could listen to. I mean, that is no brain, no talent, trash music that attracts trash people. So I'm really not surprised why Art's going to listen to it and likes it.
Well, you know what?
And
Interest.
to build on that, because I think it's important that this channel does discuss it when Wire's on here, but just as a uh, aperitif, you've got
Well,
Beyonce who's got like 20, 30 people writing her music, and her
I
music, there's a
know. I
meme out
saw that.
for
I
that.
make.
It's the same line over and over again.
Yeah, I know which
And meanwhile,
song you're
you have
talking about.
her to Queen, right, with
Yep.
Freddie Mercury writing like a fucking heart wrenching story with Bohemian Rhapsody. So you can tell when somebody is talented in the music scene who's able to write their own music rather than having a team to write it for them.
All right. I will say this, by the way, Wire definitely needs to expand a lot of his musical taste. That's for sure.
I think he's happy in his little rut.
And we know this song,
And this is what killed Prog.
or helped kill Prog. The Clash included as well.
They're punk. Don't just say Sex Pistols.
Sid Vicious on bass. I think Sid Vicious is playing bass for like 4 months at this point.
You're a very quiet lot.
What a fucking mess.
He
Yeah,
was
that's that.
Sid Vicious, by the way. By the way, here's something else. Vicious never took the time to play the damn bass guitar. On that very tour, they had a man named Chris Spelling backstage playing all the bass parts, while Sid
Oh
just stood
wow.
up there, looking blah blah blah, like he's zoned out on something. He never really took the time to play the damn thing.
And you know what's interesting is one of the brains behind the Sex Pistols was a guy named Glenn Matlock who played bass. And
Yes,
he was really the genius behind the Sex Pistols songs. They had some
mm,
good songs, okay? They had some
they did.
catchy
Yes,
hooks and stuff like that. And it was really all because of Glenn Matlock. And he basically got kicked out of the band for image wise because of Sid Vicious. And he's the dude who wrote all that shit. He was like a Beatle fan and he kind of wanted to, be a musician and a songwriter, and somehow got, it's his story's
and
so sad that
and
he
I guess
got kicked out like that.
the idea of the Sex Pistols at that time was to be anti-musician, anti-establishment, anti-corporate, anti-this, anti-that, and I guess that's what led him to being booted out from the group. And it's kind of funny is that Matlock was a good genius in terms of writing songs, as you mentioned, but they get rid of him to bring in a heroin addict who couldn't play a damn instrument, who later may have killed his girlfriend at a New York hotel.
Yeah, yeah. That kind of backfired, I'd say. And what's cool, I guess, is Glenn Matlock is. I think he's the one who got the Sex Pistols back together. So it's him, John. I don't think Johnny
John
Rotten is
Lydon,
there anymore. He's not there anymore. So they have a new singer. I think it's most of the other guys. Glenn Matlock on bass, and yeah, without
S-
John Lydon. So they're
Steve
they're going on
Jones,
tour.
Paul Cook.
Yeah, yep. I believe it's all three of them and a new singer going on tour. And Johnny Rotten
Mm.
right now is looking pretty rough. He
I
looks like he's about
saw
to
that.
go
It's
through
like,
cancer.
holy cow, did he blow it up or what?
He's been
Yeah,
looking bad for ages, but he's still
Wow.
alive.
he's very heavy, very very heavy. And I
Very,
can't say
very
much
heavy.
myself, but my goodness.
And by the way, speaking of not what they used to be, I saw a couple of reels on Facebook of Minnie Mouse singing like how Axl Rose currently sings on stage nowadays.
Oh my goodness. Axel sounds terrible right now,
I
bro.
know, it's like,
Axel
It
sounds
holy
does.
cow, dude. I
I
was like,
would
what the
never have
hell, man?
returned. I wouldn't even have made Chinese democracy. But regardless, I just wouldn't have returned. YR would certainly, pay $300 for
yeah.
a ticket to be in a rented, storage container, where Axl Rose would have his concert and would whisper his songs, and YR would be tearing up and be like, "This is all I ever wanted in my life."
Why are
And you're
be
laughing because
singing
you know that's
patience?
exactly the truth.
Yeah, no, that's horrible. Honestly, I've never been the biggest Guns N' Roses fan, and especially now, it'd be embarrassing to be a fan because they're just
Oh,
chaos.
come on, man. Don't go that far. I like Guns N' Roses, but I'm like the thing is though Guns N' Roses, ended basically um after Use Your Illusions to me. That was it. Like that the band was over. I don't have this insistence like YR does where I've got to continue to see the band even if it's just like it was like the alternate keyboard player and now he's the only one, but that's the name that they're carrying and that's not the band. That's not,
That's a
YR will go watch
that's a
them.
tribute band. That's a tribute
But
group.
that's what. But come on, guys. YR was saying that earlier. Like that, he's like, "Come on, guys. He wouldn't go see them." It's like, no, because it's not the band. Like the backup keyboardist isn't the band. It's no longer the band. You take
Yeah,
everyone away, they're all dead or sick. It's just like it's not the band. Why go? Because you
Yeah,
can hear them. Like, well, then again, the problem is this guy likes also cover bands. So it's just like, is that not almost the same thing? When it's just like it's
it's
not the
pretty much
band and then the
yes.
cover band. In fact, you know what? The cover band might do a better job. So why go see the fucking original band? Pay $300 for a ticket when you can pay $20 to go see the fucking local cover band
Mhm.
or
honestly,
tribute band. I don't know what's the proper protocol, Paul. Should I call them tribute or cover? I know cover apparently is
It's
a is
probably it doesn't really matter because it's both the
some
same when
people
you
say
think about
tribute.
it.
yeah, they're two different things. A tribute band is when they kind of like dress up and do the whole act, and a
Well, I don't
cover
know.
band is
Wire's
just
been to both. What do you say? Like,
yeah, a cover band is like a regular, just a bunch of regular dudes playing music, different music from people who wrote it. And a tribute band is like a band like Beatlemania who dresses up like the Beatles or like a '80s. There's a band called Hair Nation One or something near
Mhm.
me, and they dress up as like '80s guys and stuff like that. You could say that's like a tribute too. So
Mhm.
when you like dress the part and try and look like a period piece, on stage, maybe that's more of a tribute. Cover band is more of just a bunch of dudes
you
playing
think a YR
covers.
would hire a cover band for his birthday?
He would
Iron
hire
Maiden,
a tribute band, bro, an Iron
I would
Maiden
not be
tribute band.
surprised.
all dressed up with Eddie. You got Eddie popping out of a fucking
You know what? We should probably get
rock.
them the Iron Maidens, which is an all tribute group to Iron Maiden, all
Yeah, aren't
female.
they a bunch of
All
chicks
female.
that do that?
They are. Oh, there's a
Yeah,
lot of
I think I've
female
heard.
tribute bands out there. There is Miss Telica. There's Black
There's
Sabbath.
there's
There's
Hell's Bells.
there's
Tribute to
Les
ACDC.
Zeppelin.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Les
Les.
Zeppelin.
Yes, I remember hearing about them as well.
Who?
They're
Who?
good.
Les
Yeah,
Zeppelin. Couple of
Les
members.
Zeppelin.
Yeah, like a couple of members of the group is lesbians.
Oh, the
I
spaghetti
yeah.
incident.
I was never a big Guns N' Roses fan, but I always liked that they covered that Charles Manson song.
What a
Oh yeah.
mad illusion, living in that confusion, frustration and down. Can you ever live without the game?
Yeah, Charles Manson. I mean, that's a good song. I don't know if you ever heard the original
I
Charles
have
Manson
heard it.
version.
Yes, I did. And if I
It's damn
understand,
good.
the money from that, the money from that song goes to the victims and friends of the victims of Manson's killing spree that he started back then. And Manson says he never got a dime for it, which is rightfully so good.
Wow, didn't know that. Geez,
Yeah,
well, he got a raw deal
exactly.
there.
It's like here's something, but then again, here's something else. Charles Manson at one point almost auditioned to be on the Monkees TV show.
Hey, he was a good songwriter, good singer, play a little guitar. I mean, he was kind of legit there. The Beach Boys covered one of his songs too, and
Mm-hmm.
they reworked it into one of their originals.
Yes.
Never Learn Not to Love, which was a Charles Manson song, just with new
Wow.
lyrics. It's ridiculous. That was
Yeah,
called Cease to Exist originally.
exactly.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because Charles was hanging around with Dennis Wilson, the drummer of the Beach Boys at the
Yeah.
time. And
Mhm.
there's a bunch of stories of that happening with Charles starting to get kind of like controlling of Dennis and shit.
Mhm.
During the conspiracy music show that we were on, I did speak about Laurel Canyon,
Yes, I
and
remember that.
there's something very weird about that area. What's going
Yeah,
on?
goodness. No, it's Paul setting up the song here. Now my
Oh, okay.
question is, will this show still be on YouTube after we're done?
Of course it will.
Okay, there.
I didn't say anything that would get you flagged.
And this is a Beach Boys song taken from a Charles Manson song that is still out there on their albums. Pretty ridiculous.
Wow.
Very hypnotic.
True.
Jeez. There's Dennis Wilson singing this. Very weird. Listen to that satanic shit. Crazy.
Very crazy.
Well, I don't think we're talking about Prog anymore, but
All right, there.
it's all
But
right.
we had a
Pretty
good,
discussion.
very good
Again,
discussion.
YR tried to, put us against each other, but we just continued to discuss what Prague is and
Yep, exactly.
how much we
Well,
enjoy it and what a great influence it's been. And yeah, it's again, I've got to learn so much. Listen back and listen to some of these songs and bands and such because it's a lot of info packed into this episode. And again, it's a genre of music that just again you can just put on and just sit back and just listen to. Like that is with today, I think it's really important that I say this, but it with today's sort of society where it's so rushed, there is not that opportunity that we used to have back in the 70s and 80s where just you would sit back, put an album on and just, you know, tune out sort of thing and just enjoy the album. Let it take you somewhere. Today's society is more like 5 second, you know, dopamine fixes where every 5 seconds you got to be doing scrolling social media or some getting some sort of stimulation. Meanwhile, does anybody have the patience anymore to listen to a proper album and sit back and just on your couch, whatever, in your bed, just sit back and let the album play?
yeah,
That was
unfortunately,
beautifully said, Dave. That was fucking beautiful, bro.
I
That was
agree.
amazing.
That is I agree on that level because so
Okay, if
many
you didn't get
people.
hit to your head there, Paul, I don't think you'd be saying this.